rolling. And here we go. We are preacherinthehat.com. Welcome back. I'm Steve.
Okay, yeah, we do have that domain. Yeah.
Huh? We do have the domain?
We do. We got it. We have
sir.
Eric, for some reason, was concerned that you had mentioned the wrong URL, but no, that is correct.
Preacherinthehat.com.
That's our website.
Yeah.
Preacherinthehat.com. And so at preacherinthehat.com, if you look on the preacherinthehat.com, you will see 3 people mentioned there as being a part of preacherinthehat.com. One of those is Mr. Eric Longenecker. He is to my left.
Esteemed members.
Esteemed members of the group. Yes, that's right. And on my right is another one.
I'm not going to follow up that salute,
Eric
whatever that
Longenecker,
was.
It was Preacher in the Hat. Honorable mention on the preacherinthehat.com website is one Mr. Chris Sumter.
Is he on the website?
Yes, his name is on the website. His picture is
Powered by
not.
Chris.
I suggest Mr. Website, whoever's doing the website.
That would be
get a
yours
picture.
truly.
We tried to get a picture
let's
of
get
him on there. I don't think that worked.
He would not send us one.
His involvement since the beginning of this podcast has changed a little bit in terms of he also now is a voice and sometimes a face on the Preacher in the Hat podcast, which we've been doing now since February of 2024, methinks.
That's insane.
Yes. And we've been AWOL for a while. Absent without
summer.
leave.
It's called summer.
Summer,
Yeah.
that's right.
That's our AWOL time.
But here we are. We're back. And we have a focus that we'd like to suggest, that I'm suggesting that we follow. And we're going to do that. But tonight, I think, today, on this podcast, what we'll do is kind of introduce it to you and invite you to come along for the journey. And also, if you think somebody else could benefit from it, feel free to let them know, too. And on our website, preacherinthehat.com, you can see all of the different spots that you can get on.
That's
you can get.
Still all there.
You can get the podcast, including just verbal.
I will say, I was just browsing because I don't think Chris's name actually is on there. But I will say, the mobile site stands up pretty well. I'm pretty proud of that. Yeah, so go hit that on your
preacherinthehat.com on your phone.
On your phone,
it's very nice.
Smooth. I gotta be honest. I'm like, I haven't been out there in a minute.
It's
much easier access.
How often do you go to your own website?
Not very often.
So.
Well, it's time for that to change. That's all I got to say.
What's the name of it again?
Well, I will also say to you that there was one time in the beginning of preacherinthehat.com that we had a very outstanding writer on Substack who would write about some of the stuff we were talking about.
Then they went and had another kid.
And then had another kid. And I think all of you.
I appreciate you saying that, Derek. I think it fell off before the
you did it? Okay.
Well, we won't spend time berating him about why it happened. We will just encourage him to move forward. I think we need to hear from Eric some more on Substack too, from time to time. And this topic.
preacherinthehat.substack.com. We used to have a companion post for every episode.
Yeah.
I thought back the last time I was looking at some Substack stuff, which is basically just fancy word for digital newsletter, by the way.
It is.
And I was looking back, the last time I was thinking back about some of that stuff, I can't remember when it was, but I looked back and was like, when did I have all that time? I don't remember how I had all that time.
It's always easy to come out of the gate strong, like we're going to take that hill, you know?
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
Well, and we're not suggesting, Eric, that you must revisit every episode, but I think hearing from you added a lot to what we did, and I appreciate it a lot. And you're an excellent writer. Writing is not something that I most enjoy. I'm capable of doing it a little bit, but I'm not. I most enjoy. But you've done a great job of that. And so anyhow, I hope that maybe we can kind of revise a little bit of that, a little bit of a focus for Preacher in the Hat. Preacher in the Hat has gone all over the place in our episodes. You know, we've talked about a lot of different things, and they were usually they usually rose out of stories or came up out of stories of our lives, or
you could say at times we have wandered the desert.
That would be true too. That would be true too. I think.
Sorry, not trying to draw too many parallels.
One reason we went into the desert, I think we quickly ran out of interesting stories from the Preacher in the Hat's background, and so we used some of them, but we'll still do that. And we'll still use our own personal experiences. We'll still interact with our own life experiences. I do think that's important. So you'll not find this preacherinthehat.com to be a place of a lot of instruction, or this is the way you ought to do it, you got to do that. But we do want to learn from our life experiences and share that. And one area that we all are engaged in, all four of us are engaged in, is fathering, being a dad. Some of us longer than others in this room, obviously, with me being the old guy. But in the process of that, not only have I had that life experience myself, but I've had the experience of working alongside fathers, some of whom were non-custodial fathers. And so I worked with that when I worked at UAB, and we had a fatherhood program there. Some of those experiences will probably be talked about here in the next few podcasts. But also as pastor, I walked alongside a lot of dads, a lot of fathers, and so forth. My two sons are here in the of two of four children that my wife Lenore and I have. So and now we have 13 grandchildren. Compliments of our children, and so it's been fun to watch them. You guys doing fathering. I love to watch you being dads, and that kind of thing. Chris himself has experienced. Almost all of his children now are moving beyond their teenage years, right, Chris? Adult children, and that all has transitions, and so we have an abundance of life experiences related to being a dad, but also walking alongside other people that do it. And I thought it'd be kind of cool for us. And yes, it was my suggestion. So if you like the suggestion, you can blame me. Or if you don't like the suggestion, you can blame me. That we'll be focusing for the next little while on what it means for a dad to be involved in a family, how that impacts him, how it impacts the mom, how it impacts the children, how it impacts our culture. Interesting side note, but one that we'll talk about here pretty soon, is the National Fatherhood Initiative. And I recommend you take a look at them maybe along this way. We'll be referring to some of the things they say on their website, fatherhood.org. And they do some really good stuff. One of the things they've done is a lot of research. And they just came out with a new revised article that it is entitled The $154 Billion Man. And that figure comes, years ago they had written an article because of the statistics. This article arose out of statistics that come from government expenditures. And they found out years ago that the lack of father involvement has results in $100 billion a year in the government needing to become the father financially in many, many families. And since that time of $100 billion, it's $154 billion per year. And that includes a lot of services and stuff that are given to mothers and children who do not have an involved father in the home. They call it the $154 billion man. You can go on their website and pull up that article. It's quite lengthy and somewhat technical. You may not like it, but
you're not selling it very well.
Yeah, quite lengthy. Well, I didn't want to.
You're going to want to get ChatGPT to summarize it for you.
Punishingly intricate.
Which would not be a problem. But I think whether you go and read the article or not, the article is for you, those of you who say, if you have to read the whole article, those who say, hey, ain't no way that's the truth. Well, then you read the article and find out. because they talk about direct cost, indirect cost, and all those kind of things. So the reason I bring that up is because a lack of involvement on the part of fathers impacts every area of our lives. That is my opinion, but it's not just my opinion. It has been borne out in so many different ways. The cost of uninvolved fathers in our culture is so tremendous.
It almost seems like it might be immeasurable.
You're not on the mic.
Yeah.
Bring that.
There you go.
Repeat that. It almost
Please repeat
seems
it.
like
Yeah.
it would be immeasurable, right?
Well, in some degree it is. Let me tell you just a personal thing that hits me every time. When I go to Bibb County Prison, for example, obviously the men in that prison cannot be day-to-day involved with their kids. All right. Now, not every man in that prison has children. They do not. But a large percentage of them do have children biologically. And I walk through there and I think of the 1,700 plus men in this prison means that close to 1,700 families have been infected just from the people in that prison, one prison in Alabama in the United States of America. So that the statistics show that from the National Fatherhood Initiative that already in America, let me be sure I've got the number just right. The total number of children without a biological step or adoptive father at home, without a biological step or adoptive father at home, is 18.2 million children in the United States. Every night, 18.2 million children go to bed without a father of any type in their home. That's a lot of kids. The impact of that then in terms of growing up in fatherless homes or lack of a father then sometimes impacts what they do when they become fathers biologically and so forth. I guess what I'm trying to pinpoint for us today is this subject that we're talking about, while it's going to be personal, and we will share our own personal stories and the joys and so forth. This thing about being an involved father is not just an opinion of somebody who's a preacher. It's not just an opinion of somebody who says they're Christian. It's not just an opinion of somebody. And it is not an attempt to make fathers feel bad. It's not what we're talking about. But it is to realize the reality of what is here and how it impacts us. The lack of involved fathers, in our culture is so profound. And then, of course, the solution for that is involved fathers. And that's what we want to say is it's rewarding, it's satisfying, it's beautiful, it's helpful. So we don't want to just focus on uninvolved fathers, but we want to talk about how to move our culture into the mindset that involved fathers are absolutely crucial and ready. Not ready. We're ready for that to happen. And when you can impact that involved fathers, you can impact a culture, you can impact a community, you can impact so many other things. That's not to say that all mothers are involved. They're not. They're not, of course. And that's a subject for another day. And that's also important. But at the same time, it's not to say mothers are not crucial and very, very important in the life of their child. They are. But we assume that. It may be we have a culture that does not assume that the involvement of the father is absolutely necessary. I wonder if we come through this discussion, if we will be pushed in a direction to say, hey, involved fathers is a really, really beautiful thing. How can we help that happen? So, from your life experiences, guys, and Chris, you chime in here too. What's just what's a thought or a certain experience, not experience, maybe life experience you've had that kind of highlighted for you how important and involved fathers are and how difficult it is when the fathers are not involved. Chris, you want to start us off?
I was just thinking when you were talking, like what I've noticed lately, I guess I'm more able to connect to things like this now, but when I see somebody on TV and they're talking and they're from a broken home or whatever, I don't care how famous they are, if it's Theo Von, if it's an athlete, whatever, they always get moved by whatever side of that pendulum swung. Mm-hmm. And it stays with them forever. You know what I mean? And so when you hear them talking, either like they had an absentee father or they had one that was really close to them, it really, even this many years later, no matter how much success they've had or not, that's something that like they cannot escape.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think for me, I wish that I was able to sense the magnitude of it, because you get caught up in it at the moment, but you don't really have a bird's eye view of it until much later.
Yeah.
You know?
Good way. Yeah. Guys, what are your thoughts, just initial, about involved fathers or lack of involved fathers?
We're for it.
We support it.
We support it.
I mean, you two, I know, and Chris is too, but you two are involved fathers. So I got that. You know what I'm saying? You are. I mean, that's obvious. I watch you, and I love watching you be involved. So this is not a thing where, hey, I hope that Derek and Eric and Chris and Steve will become more involved fathers. We are pretty involved already. So, but what are your thoughts about the whole idea of a lack of involved father?
For me, when you look at around our culture, like you see it, like you don't, maybe you weren't even able to put your finger on it at first, but like when you, as you were reading through some of that stuff to us, even before we started recording, it was like sending me off into certain places about our brokenness and how so much of that stems from, you know, that.
Yeah.
I think you can, or, you know, my personal experience, I feel like I've maybe kind of been a little bit shielded from that. Grew up in church where all the other kids had their dads, and we live in, I mean, that's the part of town we're in. I feel like there's a lot of our neighbors, you know, it's two parent households and that sort of thing. So I have a much more of like the positive experience of what it should look like, I guess, versus being around a whole bunch of like, I mean, I've heard the stories, the anecdotes of, you know, the testimonies of people who came through that sort of thing. So that's always important to hear. But, you know, for me, there's not been a ton of like personal impact to me. And that's a tribute to the people that I've grown up and lived around and been around, that they've been involved with their families.
Yeah.
When you were growing up, was your dad ever around much?
Occasionally. Here and there.
Here and there.
Just like every
Saturday.
night, pretty much.
Yeah. From time to time. Yeah.
You guys may remember the story that I changed my job largely after you were born because I was traveling, and I decided I did not want to travel as much after you guys were born, that I wanted to be there from the very beginning. I changed my job largely based on that, my career for the time being. It was still ministry, but it was a different focus. It was not as much travel. I still had to travel some, but I didn't have to travel necessarily.
I think total time around your kids is not actually highest factor.
That's true.
Measuring factor of whether or not you're an involved parent.
I agree.
It's not.
It's what you do while you are around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the dads who need to go out and travel 2 weeks for work so that their family can have what they need should be doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's way more about your kids are going to know, like your kids know, they know why you're not there.
That's right. That's right.
And if it's like if like I mean, you know, Dad wasn't there for every single thing that ever happened in our lives, but when he wasn't there, we didn't really have any doubts as to why he wasn't. Wasn't because, you know, and so I think the reason that you're gone
matters.
It
really does. You know what? When I said about I quit job, you know, I didn't do it for you guys.
No, right? Yeah, you do that stuff for
me.
you.
I was doing it for me, honestly. I wasn't trying to say, oh, if I travel, Derek and Eric are going to have. I really was. I was like, I want to be home and help Lenore put them to bed.
Yep.
You know? I wanted to do that. That was more what I wanted to do. And it had a positive impact, I think, on that. And but it wasn't that I was making some high and holy sacrifice, because I didn't really want to do that, come off the road, but I did it for my boys. That's not what I'm trying to communicate. I did it for me because I wanted to be more involved. That's what I wanted to do. So, Eric, I think I interrupted you.
I don't remember exactly what I was going to say back then, but yeah.
So just keep it up.
Right. I think one of the things that you notice the most with kids that where dad is around is that it's not a 100% it's not a batting 1,000 kind of thing. You know, kids are going to struggle with stuff, but I think you see kids who are a lot more confident in who they are.
Yes, boy, that's good.
Because kids get a lot of, so obviously this is not a knock on one set of parent. It doesn't mean because kids get affirmation from their mom, right? But if there's mom and there's dad, you're missing, if you don't have one of those, you could be missing 50% of those. And so what we're talking about is a lot of,
that's right.
It's not always this way, but a lot of times it's the dad that's missing. But anyhow, and so when a kid doesn't have that kind of emotional, I don't know, I don't know exactly the words I'm looking for, but not confirmation, but just, they just feel, I feel like they see a lot more settled. They're a lot more settled in who they are, and a lot more content with who they are when dad is around and affirming that.
Let me paint a picture for you. You know how, when your dad would come to a ball game and those athletes would be looking over their shoulder to see where he was? I feel like, and this is something that I've experienced just being in the business that I'm in, I feel like men that grow up without that, and they're always looking over their shoulder. And man, it leads to a lot of SHIT, if you know what I mean. A lot of stuff comes out of that.
That's right.
And because they're looking for that they never got. And when you said confidence, that was what I already was thinking.
That's a great word.
They just have it because that's the way God intended it to be.
Yeah. That's right.
But you take that young man and you don't give him that, man, it can play out in a lot of crazy ways. You know?
Really can. Well, we've started a little bit this time.
Did I just spell a cuss word on the episode?
It's okay.
Yeah,
we don't actually have to bleep it out.
You did.
Yeah,
You did.
You're good.
I apologize.
It's okay.
You spelled it.
I spelled it.
That would be a really long beep. Which might
you made it
indicate
a lot
people are like,
longer.
man, what did he say?
I'm sure the people listening are hooked on phonics. They know how to spell it. Right? So,
For those of you who struggle with the way it's spelled, just call it manure, and then it'll be okay. All right. So,
If
anyhow,
your kid just asks you what that spells, we apologize.
or as the Apostle Paul says in some translations, dong. He calls it dong. So it does lead to a lot of stuff that's very, very negative and very, very disorienting, perhaps, among other things. Well, so we've kicked it off tonight a little bit on the value of a man, particularly the value of an involved father. And we want to focus on that as we go. We'll have a little different approaches. The value of an involved father in the life of the children, the value of an involved father in the life of a dad himself, the value of the involved father for a mom. There's a lot of value for an involved dad in the life of a mom, more than just he babysits for my kids. It goes beyond that. Those will be among the topics that I think we'll take a focus on. We'll build it around a question each time. I wonder if you'll join us, and maybe you'll give us a little input. Get back to us. I think they can talk back to us on preacherinthehat.com. Am I right about that? Or comments on YouTube or something
They
like that.
cannot comment on preacherinthehat.com.
Cannot comment on the website.
You cannot. I'm sorry.
Head on over to YouTube, probably the easiest place to do it. I think you can comment on Spotify and places like that, but we don't get notifications when people put comments on Spotify, but we get them on YouTube. So that's probably the best place.
Not too many times, I'll close with this, not too many times in our culture do men get together and talk about their children and being a dad and what it means to them. There's just not a lot of spaces in our culture for that. A lot of times when mothers get together, they create space. They talk about their children. They talk about what it means to be a mother. Dads tend not to. Well, let's make Preacher in the Hat one of those spaces for the next little while where we can talk about both the things that we've learned in a positive way, the things that we learned negatively from our own life experiences, both our successes and our failures. And let's be dads who get together around this podcast and talk about this stuff. It's important, and we're up for it. We hope you'll join us. For Derek, Eric, and Chris, all involved fathers all, God bless. We'll see you next time.